there, hi there, ho there. It is March. We are almost through the awful, terrible, nasty days of winter, although this has been an incredible winter where we are concerned. Up here in the northern climes of Indiana.
Yep, it's been a very mild, above average temperatures.
Yep, and usually if we get through March, we're good to go. So 1 month to go. He's a conquistador, Dave Height.
He's a maestro, Kevin Kane.
It is time for Sports Frenzy 2.0. Taping here, yes, on the first day of March 2023. This will hit the morning of the 2nd, and we are going to do things a little bit differently this week.
Keeping you on your toes, kids.
We've got March Madness coming up in a few weeks. We've got a lot of stuff going on in the NBA. So, yes, believe it or not, we are going to leave our beloved NFL behind, relegate them to segment 2, maybe segment 3, depending on how we feel. We are going to talk basketball for the majority of the first segment here. Now, I would not bore you, Dave, or you, the podcast audience, with insignificant basketball news. So everything I'm bringing to the table this week should elicit a response. Positive, negative, anger, happiness.
And snores.
That's just because you've been working too much this week and you're tired.
There is that.
All right, first up. 25% of the Milwaukee Bucks have been sold. Mark Lasry has sold his share of the right now perennial contending Milwaukee Bucks with
sell high.
One of the two or three top stars in the league in Giannis Antetokounmpo, but who he sold it to, and this has been rumored for weeks, we know this, selling to the majority owners of the Cleveland Browns, Jimmy and Dee Haslam.
Oh, God, the scumbags of now, sports.
The thing that frustrates me, and again, we're talking about the media here and reporting, but the media doesn't know how to do math and doesn't know how to convey numbers clearly.
You think? They just go for the jugular, trying to elicit a response just to keep their ratings up. They don't care about facts. They just give their opinions.
Because Lasry sells, like I said, 25% of the Bucks to the Haslams. But you never get a clear number from the media, whether it's ESPN, CBS, NBC, whoever's covering this in the sports media. All they'll say is the valuation number is $3.5 billion. That has got to be the entire value of the franchise.
Right.
Because you can't tell me the Bucks are worth $14 billion.
They're not. No, sorry.
Which is 25% of $14 billion is $3.5 billion, kids. I can do math once in a while. So they should give you the number. So I'm assuming that Jimmy and Dee Haslam bought their share of the Bucks for less than $1 billion.
I would imagine.
Is how I would look at this, doing simple basic math, which most of our children nowadays can't. Next topic. Another situation where maybe a superstar in the NBA has forced a change, but now that he has forced a change, this is his last chance.
This has got to be the last chance.
And we're talking about Trae Young in Atlanta.
You could have been talking about 3 or 4 players who have forced their way out of
most
places.
of them have already done it.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden.
Yeah.
But, of course, Trae Young complaining, bitching, pissing, moaning, whining down in Atlanta. So they fired Nate McMillan. Now they're bringing in Quinn Snyder, who had a really good track record with the Utah Jazz before Danny Ainge came in and just wanted to blow the thing up. And Quinn Snyder said, "No, I can't go through that.
No, not again."
He's one of the few guys that's been able to jump from the college ranks to the pro ranks and do a decent, credible job. So Quinn Snyder in season, another anomaly, something we don't normally see, is a guy signed to a 5-year deal in the middle of the season.
That's almost unheard of.
Right after a veteran head coach gets canned.
Yeah. Crazy. You would think they would have put the interim just to see how the team would respond under him.
Well, but then you can't give him an interim because he wasn't on the staff.
Well,
it wasn't like he got promoted off the bench as an assistant coach.
But at least you go a year.
Yeah, he wouldn't have taken it, though. He would have got better offers somewhere else in the offseason.
But I still think it's too far out.
But I'm looking at this as a message being sent to Trae Young saying, now this is it. You shape up or you ship out, buddy, because now we're with Quinn Snyder, 5 years.
Yeah.
Interesting things going on with the Hawks. I just want to point out, by the way.
Stop letting the inmate dictate what's going on.
You just
running the asylum.
There you go. I was going to say, you didn't want to say that, but you're too nice of a guy.
Nope. We use it so often.
I just want to point out, by the way, I don't get to talk about my team very often, but I did some research, some math. Yes, again.
And what are the Magic
NBA
up to?
math numbers this week. I want to point out, number one, the Magic started off 5-20. Okay? 5-20.
Ouch.
Since then, they are 21-16. They're actually not bottom feeders anymore. Thank God.
For the Detroit Pistons.
Thank God they picked Paolo Banchero and not Holmgren.
Yeah. We talked about Holmgren.
Yeah.
Being the fragile toothpick that he is.
Yep. I think the Magic are one player away from being a solid playoff team. We talked about the All-Star game.
And the joke that it is.
I guess we're not the only ones that looked at it that way. This past All-Star game, the least watched ever. Only got a 2.2 rating, 4.59 million viewers. When we talk about NASCAR later, we will point out the fact that the good old boys in the cars kicked the NBA's ass on that particular Sunday. You want some examples of the fact that they don't play defense in the NBA, Dave?
All you had to do was watch the All-Star game.
Yeah, but we're talking about real games that supposedly matter.
That supposedly matter? You mean when teams like the Bulls regularly give up 20-point leads in the fourth quarter?
We could go there. We could talk about the fact that we had the second highest scoring game in NBA history here recently. It did go 2 overtimes, so I will put that on it. But the Sacramento Kings beat the LA Clippers 176-175.
Oh my God.
As I said, could be a really nice example of...
And you've got two perennial awful teams putting up those kind of numbers.
Believe it or not, they're both in line to make
the playoffs
this year. Yeah.
It's because the Lakers are old and feeble.
And banged up. Completely and totally banged up.
That's where the feeble comes into play.
Yes. Yeah, LeBron James, I was telling Dave when we were doing our show prep, I was initially going to have him on my list of dumbasses of the week because the first story I saw earlier here this week was that he was already ruling himself out for Tuesday night's game against the Memphis Grizzlies. And he does this every year, and this is part of the whole load management fiasco
that everybody's pissed off about.
Right. And he just decides I am too important to spend my time playing in front of the fans in Memphis. So I was going to put him down once again for being a dumbass. But it turns out legitimate injury.
Legitimately injured his foot. Going to be out a few weeks yet, at least.
Yep. So the Lakers might not even get into the play-in tournament the way things are going, because Anthony Davis, I believe tonight, is not playing because he, of course, is injured as well. Street clothes.
Street clothes again, riding the pine.
Yep. Now, my other example of no defense, and I got to give the guy credit because he is loyal. Now, I'm waiting. Cynical guy that I am. Cynical man that I am waiting for him to turn and become another Kevin Durant, another Kyrie Irving. But to this point, he is not. And that would be one Damian Lillard.
That guy has been a stalwart up in the Pacific Northwest. How many times has he had the opportunity to bolt or to ask to get out of there?
And I know. That's why I'm saying I'm hoping as an old school fan that he won't, that he will stick it out, even though he doesn't really get a lot of help. He put up 71 points the other night on February the 26th.
And it wasn't just threes. It was threes. It was driving to the basket. He was perfect from the free throw line. He had just one of those overall incredible nights where they just couldn't stop him.
Yeah, and it amazes me that franchise has money. You might think Portland not a big market team, but look at who owns it, who's backing it.
Yeah, they've got the money. They should be able to put a team together.
Yep. Now, of course, I know you'll love this because you brought this up when we talked about the All-Star Game weekend and DK Metcalf
the next day,
playing well in the celebrity game, right?
Yeah.
Well, Damian Lillard gets a blood test
after the game
when he scores 71.
There's your randomness for you. Bull crap. Everybody knows that the whole thing is a joke.
We go streaking. We're going streaking. Got to point out the fact that the Bucks, we just talked about the fact that partial ownership has changed hands. They are on a 15-game winning streak, and they have passed the Celtics by percentage points as the number one seed in the Eastern Conference.
That could be one hell of a showdown in the finals if they wind up meeting the Eastern Conference Finals.
And yeah, I think that's a great call because I think if we get Celtics Bucks, I think whoever wins that, because I think you were thinking the same thing I was. Whoever wins that is going to win the whole thing.
Should win the whole thing.
Yes. The West is kind of a mishmash. You really don't know. Is Denver really that good?
Is Phoenix going to rise up with KD now?
Now that he's going to start playing, he's finally over his latest injury. But yeah, I like the Celtics and the Bucks a lot.
And is Curry coming back in time to resurrect?
Yeah, you can't count them out either. And of course, speaking of, Steve Kerr, one of my two favorite coaches in basketball, his buddy, the other guy who decides that he'll talk about basketball when he wants, when he's not talking about politics, and that would be one Greg Popovich, who's in full tankathon mode with the Spurs. Yeah. They just, probably against his wishes, won a game, so they broke a 16-game losing streak. So you mentioned the Pistons earlier. You've got the Pistons, you've got the Spurs, and you've got the Rockets, the three teams that are in tankathon mode to try to get this kid from overseas. I believe he's playing on a French team that they say is the next great prospect.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm kind of proud of the
see.
Magic. That's why I'm kind of proud of my Orlando Magic, is they are like, no, we're not playing tankathon.
No.
We're going to finally take these young players.
They'll probably wind up in the lottery.
Yep.
And who knows?
Maybe
they
get
might
Brandon
have
Miller.
a chance.
Maybe they'll get Brandon Miller. Oh my God. I could see that happening.
Oh Lord.
Boy, you want to put me in a moral quandary as a fan? If that happens, the Magic draft 4th, 5th, 6th, and Brandon Miller falls to them.
Oh God.
What am I going to do with that? All right, let's move on to college basketball, because there is a very, very interesting topic here I want to bounce off of Dave. But first,
were you using Mr. Miller as the segue?
Yeah, kind of. I'm good like that. I do have a little bit of talent, as all 4 of our listeners will attest to.
Just a little.
Yeah. Of course, I have to bring up my Miami Hurricanes,
who
with an awful loss last week.
Plastered last week.
I think they blew a 25-point lead to Florida State. And I believe it or not, I actually flipped that game on going through channels, and I saw the halftime score, and I watched the first minute or 2 of the second half and thought, no problem. We got this. And then I look and go, what? They lost? They weren't penalized too much in the polls, though. Currently 16th in the AP poll at 23-6. I would imagine they're probably a 3 or 4 seed, unless they do well in the ACC tournament.
That might bump them a little.
Now, of course, here locally tonight, a historic night for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish men's basketball program. It is the final home game being coached by one Michael Bray.
And on the radio, they were touting tickets are available. Upper arena for $5, lower arena for $15.
Yeah, could that be because
nobody gives a rat's ass that they suck so bad? And a lot of people have been calling for Bray to be let go for, I don't know, the last 10 to 12 years.
Yeah, 10 and 19 right now. They're not going in. They're not going to the NIT. They're not going anywhere.
Nothing.
That could be. I am not doing that type of research on a team I really don't follow. But 10 and 19, that's got to be one of the worst records they've posted in a
very long time.
All right, now here's a topic to wrap up college basketball that I wanted to bounce off of you and everybody out there, because it's a story that's flying under the radar. But by the time we do this podcast next week, the all-time NCAA scoring record in the men's Division 1. We just saw the NBA scoring record for all time fall.
Yep.
As LeBron James passes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar a few weeks back. Who would have thought in the same year we would see the men's NCAA basketball scoring record fall? Current record holder, Pistol Pete Maravich. 3,667 points. But did you know Detroit Mercy's Antoine Davis, by winning his team's first round playoff game in their conference and getting to move on to a second round game, has now moved within 25 points.
Wow.
Of setting a new NCAA men's basketball career scoring record. Now, here's the problem. Here's where I want to bring you in, because I want your opinion on this. Everybody out there in podcast land can chime in as well.
Are we playing the D1, D2?
No. That's not the question. The question is, number one, Pete Maravich played in a time when freshmen were not eligible to play varsity basketball. And because of COVID and the extra year of eligibility given by the NCAA, Antoine Davis, who, by the way, is Mike Davis's son. Remember that name?
Yes.
Former IU coach.
Yep.
Who is now the head coach at Detroit Mercy. Antoine Davis is playing in his 5th year of eligibility, whereas Pete Maravich played and set his record in 3 years. Games? You want to ask how many games? When Antoine Davis plays his next game, that will be his 143rd game. Pete Maravich, 3,667 points, 83 games. You look up the numbers for Pete Maravich.
There you go.
But this is the debate. What do you do? How do you... Do you call Antoine Davis if he puts up 30 points, 35 points, whatever it takes?
God.
Is he the all-time greatest scorer in NCAA basketball history?
No.
Considering the fact he got 60 more games to do it than Pete Maravich? I mean, Pete Maravich averaged, I believe, over 40 points a game.
Yeah.
But, of course, then you get the arguments from the current fans. The athletes
did it.
Well, the athletes now are better, more well-conditioned. Although you and I would say they don't play defense.
Right.
And they have a 3-point line now. Remember that, too.
Yeah, there was no 3-point line when Kareem was doing all
Pistol
of his
Pete.
stuff. Or Pistol Pete. And Pistol Pete's career was short by NBA standards as well.
Well, this is for college.
But college, yeah.
So, next week, we could follow up on this.
God.
Because I don't know if it'll be all that hard for Antoine Davis to score 25 points at the pace he's going. It
should be easy for him.
Even if Detroit Mercy gets knocked out in the next round of their conference tournament, all he needs is 26 points. 25 to tie, 26 to set the all-time record.
Now you got all the NFL records because how long? Because you keep adding games.
Great comparison.
So often.
Right. Great comparison. I was thinking of that as well.
So at a time where you used to play 14, you used to play 12, then 14, then 16.
Yep.
Now 17.
Again, we'll follow up next week because I have a feeling Mike Davis will do everything in his power to make sure his son
he will.
Becomes the all-time leading NCAA men's scoring champion. All right. We've got about 7 minutes left. Trade deadline for the NHL fast approaches, but most of the moves are being completed or have been completed here as teams try to get things in well before the bell tolls.
Yep.
And that would include Dave's beloved Chicago Blackhawks.
As anticipated, they did trade Patrick Kane. He has gone to the Rangers. What did they get? A defenseman and a conditional 2023 second-round pick. Now, if the Rangers go farther, it could turn into a first-round pick in either 2024 or 2025. Plus a 2025 fourth. And I'm thinking, really? For Kaner? I know he's been in the league for 16 years. He's still going to put up 60-plus points a year. The Hawks are in full rebuild mode. They're just stocking draft picks. Pick after pick after pick, what they can get. They're dumping salary. But that being said, they're still paying half of his salary. So the Hawks are picking up $5.25 million yet this year in a deal with Arizona They're picking up about half the remainder. And so the Rangers are only going to be on the hook for $2.65 million, which is how they were able to pull this off and get within the cap. Now, Kane, as we tape here on March 1st, is going to make his debut with the Rangers on the first line with Tarasenko and Panarin. Got to be one of the top lines in the NHL right now. Panarin and Kane, when Panarin was with the Hawks, those two put up phenomenal numbers together. But the Stan Bowman screwed everything up and couldn't keep Panarin. He put them in salary cap hell, didn't know what the hell he was doing, and now we're paying for it. So screw you, Stan Bowman, you piece of garbage. But good for Kane. He's got a legitimate shot to pick up his 4th cup.
And he wanted to go to the Rangers.
He wanted to play with Tarasenko.
Well, no. What I heard was when he heard that the Tarasenko deal went through, he thought that was going to keep him from going.
Right. He thought he actually thought he was going to wind up in St. Louis with Tarasenko until Tarasenko got moved.
Right.
And then he's like, no, I'm not going anywhere. But when the Rangers came calling, he's like, all right, I got a chance to play with Tarasenko and I can reunite with Panarin. Why not?
Yeah. Now, New York fans, of course, because I listen to too much New York sports radio, from what I'm hearing, New York fans so far, hockey fans, are not all that over the moon with Tarasenko so far. But that is going to be an interesting, for as little as I know about hockey, an interesting Eastern Conference battle.
Yeah.
Because you might have all 3 teams there in that New York region. The Devils, the Islanders, and the Rangers all fighting it out. And the Bruins are going to be sitting there waiting.
Yeah.
For whoever
comes out of there.
Yeah. Now, the other move you didn't mention, I wanted to get your opinion on the move the Blackhawks made earlier. The Jake McCabe trade.
Lafferty.
Yeah, going to Toronto.
The McCabe thing, that, again, was another frickin' salary dump. And, again, a chance to try and pick up a draft pick. I'm just frustrated with that organization right now.
Unfortunately, it's probably, I would again, looking on the outside in, say that this is going to be a long rebuild.
It is. And it goes back to Stan Bowman not knowing what the hell he was doing. He made some stupid signings. He made some great draft choices, but he couldn't keep them because of other stupid things he'd done. So, yeah, he was a GM who, okay, he helped get the 3 cups. The first one was a result of Dale Talon, who he replaced. Talon had drafted Kane. Talon had drafted Taze and Keith and Seabrook and had those guys already there. And Bowman comes in, makes a couple little moves, and reaps the benefits of the groundwork that Dale Talon laid.
And Taze is done after this year, right?
Yeah, and he should hang it up with his long-term COVID thing that he's got, that whole immune thing that he's dealing with.
Immune deficiency disorder,
Yeah, as a result of the COVID and everything else. He should just focus on himself now. He's accomplished enough in his career.
All right, kids. Again, curveball. Keep you guessing. Basketball and hockey in the first segment.
It's all nutsy cuckoo. It's not April 1st. It's March 1st.
That's right. Of course, though, we are not ignoring the NFL. We are not ignoring the start of spring training. And, of course, the NASCAR season is in full swing. All that is coming up here in the next segment. The Conquistador and I will be right back. Feeling mildly fatigued? Need a day off even if you just took one a few days ago? Make $30 million a year but just don't want to work for it? You need to join the NBA Load Management Club right now. When they're not napping or texting, guest lecturers Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving will describe foolproof ways to earn tens of thousands of dollars by not doing anything. Sports Frenzy 2.0, available on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, is currently negotiating with LeBron James to bring his popular How to Make the Hall of Fame Without Really Trying webinar live and in person to the Load Management Club. Thanks again to Sports Frenzy 2.0 and all you apathetic fans out there for making us a success.
All right, kids, welcome back to segment 2 of Sports Frenzy 2.0 here as we record March 1st, 2023, dropping Thursday the 2nd. I'm the Conquistador Dave Height.
I'm the maestro, Kevin Crane.
And we're getting ready to bring back the NFL in the top segment, or the top spot here on segment 2 on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Amazon, Audible, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and Stitcher!
Don't forget to check out the Facebook page for our weekly NASCAR picks.
Check out the weekend edition. We've got some music and movies to review.
This will be an awesome weekend edition, let me tell you. Steel Panther, The Consultant, Megan. We have got some good
Jack
stuff.
Ryan season 3 wrap up.
There you go. We have got some magnificent reviews for you this week. And let me tell you, we're not going to play Dumbass or Not this week on the sports edition, but oh boy, are we playing it on the weekend edition. We have got a whole list of ridiculously pathetic dumbasses.
Would you say we have a plethora of pompous dumbasses?
Yes, and when we're talking Hollywood, pop culture, and politics, the weekend edition is pretty easy each and every week to play dumbass or not. So check us out wherever, as Dave said, you can find podcasts. Sports Frenzy 2.0 could be there. NFL news. The NFL is becoming a 12-month cycle when it comes to headlines and news.
Yep, they have to get everything spaced out just enough because free agency's getting ready to kick in. They're doing the combine. All that fun stuff hitting this month.
Yeah, and I don't know how much this is going to help Bryce Young, of course, quarterback from Alabama.
Oh, I'm not going to go to the combine. I'm just going to do my pro day in my home facility.
I think, again, we are going to see teams think they're smarter than everybody else. They're going to panic. They're going to decide. I'm hearing Anthony Richardson from Florida could potentially now be the number 1 pick because of the raw talent he has. So a decision like this by Bryce Young could hurt him.
It could. It could very well.
But as a Dolphins fan, you should feel ecstatic. Because next year, we talked about the NBA draft in segment 1 and talked about Tankathon and how the Spurs and the Pistons and the Rockets are trying to get this kid from overseas. The next great player, best player we've seen in a decade. A lot of people saying USC quarterback, reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams.
Could be the next sure thing.
The next Patrick Mahomes. And where does he want to play football, Dave? He wants to play football for the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, God.
And I am also already hearing that now you can't count them out in this whole Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes.
Oh, God help us. Oh, Lord.
What is going on with the Dolphins?
I have no idea.
Have they already written 2 off?
I talked about it after the last concussion when he went all ragdoll on the field after doing the stiff arm.
It was scary, yeah.
It's not a good situation. He's had issues with the legs. Now he's got the concussions. I told you I wasn't all that wild about drafting him, and where they did as it was, I wasn't sold on him because of the arm strength and everything else. You almost have to look for the next quarterback. I don't think you can't count on him to be there for a full season.
And that's what makes it intriguing, because I agree with you completely. Your responsibility as a team owner, as a general manager, is to look into the future.
Yeah, you have got to put the best product on the field. And that means having a quarterback who is going to be there week in, week out, season after season for at least 10 years.
But, and the Aaron Rodgers rumors, and I heard them from multiple sources, I dismissed them. Because number one, right now the Dolphins do not have the draft capital to entice a trade.
No. I don't think they have the money either to pick that up.
Maybe another year, they get through this year. The problem is they're still going to be decent.
Yeah, they are not a bottom-feeding team.
So they're going to have to figure out a way if the Caleb Williams deal is going to happen. And again, he said he wants to play for the Dolphins. They're going to have to do some major maneuvering to figure out a way to move up to the number one spot, depending on who has that pick next year. Yeah. I would imagine it could be Tampa Bay, Houston, Indianapolis.
It could be Chicago again.
Well, let's not go there yet. Oh, God. Oh, God. Let's not go there yet. Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, I can't stand this guy.
The pompousness of him.
Stand this guy.
In his interview with the self-help guru,
Aubrey Marcus.
Yeah, it was great listening to the score. Coming home from work, they were playing the interview, talking about Aubrey Marcus, and the producer goes, "Who is she?" No, it would be, "Who is he?"
And oh my God, some of the quotes from this.
Oh my God, it's new age to the nth degree.
Yes, and the whole touching and feeling the hands of his ancestors and the true love and all that
and
stuff.
And the kumbaya bullshit spewing forth from his
I can't believe
mind-boggling the mind-boggling depths of his self-centeredness.
I can't believe people still are defending him. I do think the people of Green Bay are done with him.
Yeah.
And remember, the people technically own the Packers. Publicly owned company.
Yes, it is.
And I think they're done with this. And of course, Aaron Rodgers gives you the typical, if you don't want to listen to what I have to say, then tune it off. Yeah. Here's the problem, Aaron.
I don't want to drag this out. It's better to make a decision earlier rather than later, because I don't want to do what Brett Favre did by waiting till the last minute. Then just freaking come out and tell us, you idiot.
He loves this. He loves the attention.
He is the attention whore.
He is eating this up. And the thing is, when he says something so short-sighted like turn it off, we're not talking about a TV show or a movie. In that case, that's a legitimate way to, if I don't want to watch a show that I know is PC or a movie that I know I'm not going to like because of the content, yes, I can turn it off. But I want to listen to a sports radio show, or I want to watch ESPN, and they happen to come on all of a sudden and go, oh, the latest on Aaron Rodgers.
Blah,
so
blah,
what? I'm supposed
blah.
to mute the TV for a minute and hope that I don't miss something else because I don't want to listen to your melodrama. So sick of him. And he's played us all because he knew. We all thought that this would come out on the podcast.
Yep, with Pat McAfee.
And then he turns around and teases everybody with this Aubrey Marcus podcast. I would not, and I know I'm a Bears fan. So much for my Zen promise this week, Dave. I'm a Bears fan.
As a Dolphins fan, I want nothing to do with this piece of garbage.
I don't see how any
He's a distraction.
Self-respecting, halfway intelligent sports fan would want anything to do with this self-centered, new age piece of crap on my team.
Especially the version we have over the last 4 years. Okay, wow, MVPs. Big deal. He folded like a house of cards during the playoffs.
He admits on 2 of those MVPs, COVID years. He admits it. He says it himself. So he's actually diminishing 2 of those 4 MVP awards.
Yeah.
I can't wait for this. You know what I hope for? Outside of being a Bears fan, it doesn't impact us at all. With this whole free agency with the quarterbacks and the carousel going on again, I hope Derek Carr lands somewhere and gets a Super Bowl ring, shows up Aaron Rodgers, because Derek Carr gets no respect.
None.
Derek Carr, he's crying. He cares. He actually cares about his team. When do you hear about off-the-field drama with Derek Carr?
You don't.
Oh, but he's crying. He's so emotional. He can't handle New York media. I'll take Derek Carr any day over Aaron Rodgers, and maybe I'd be wrong over the 2 years that Aaron Rodgers has got left versus the 5 or 6 or 7 that Derek Carr has got.
There's more upside there with Carr.
I guarantee you the locker room, the morale, the overall look of the franchise will be lifted more by a guy like Derek Carr than a self-centered, egomaniacal douchebag like Aaron Rodgers. Now, the opposite end of the spectrum, and I feel bad. Man, I feel bad for this guy. Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy. Had to delay the elbow surgery, of course, we saw when he got injured in the NFC Championship.
Swelling has not gone down yet on that arm.
So now that puts the San Francisco 49ers in a quandary, because now it doesn't look like Brock Purdy will even be close to being able to play at the beginning of the 2023-2024 season. So do you gamble again on Trey Lance?
Or do you look at one of the available quarterbacks?
And I'm still hearing that John Lynch might be knocking on Tom Brady's door. Tom Brady, that's his home team.
It is, but Brady cannot come back again.
Can I tell you something? And I don't know if it's true or not. I had one reliable source that I trust come out with this. Somebody actually said, and if it's a catfish or whatever you want to call it, I get bad info, that's fine. Somebody said that Tom Brady didn't jump into the Fox booth this year and is waiting until next year because of all the positive vibrations that he got from the 80 for Brady movie, that he thinks he might actually try stand-up comedy.
Oh, good Lord.
I'm not kidding you.
Oh,
I'm not
good
kidding you.
Lord. No.
You want to hear, again, this is not me.
Put him at the Improv.
This is what I heard from somebody else, and they swore this came from a reliable source. You want to hear one of the jokes that supposedly Brady would use in his audition? What did the linebacker say to the stewardess?
What?
Put me in, coach.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
You laughed.
Oh, God.
You laughed.
Oh, God.
All right, we mentioned the quarterback carousel in full, massive, mega spin mode.
Don't
No
forget, you
shock
still
here.
got Jimmy G out there, too.
Oh, yeah. Possibly Ryan Tannehill. And officially now, the Commanders release Carson Wentz.
Bye-bye.
And for the Commanders, a smart move for once. 0 guaranteed money, so they are going to get $26 million straight off the cap in savings. But they are saying they're going to go with Howell, the young pup they drafted last year.
He didn't look too bad.
It's an interesting situation with some teams, like the Commanders with Howell, Tampa Bay now with Brady retiring. Is Trask ready? The kid from Florida from a couple years ago, U of F.
Yeah.
What is Atlanta going to do? Are they going to actually let Cincinnati's Desmond Ridder going to take over for a full year?
What's Tennessee really going to do?
Yeah, Malik Willis did not look ready at all.
Not even close to prepared.
No. Well, they wouldn't put him in a crucial game with Tannehill injured.
Right. So that tells you something. They brought in
Joshua Dobbs off the street.
Yeah, that
had more faith in him.
Yeah, that's not a good situation there.
All right, and of course, each and every week here in silly season in the NFL, we got to talk about real quick the changes for coordinators. Now, this is not all of them. I'm just hitting the ones
on coordinators, though. Leslie Frazier taking a year off in Buffalo.
Yeah, he says he wants to come back. So they have not decided if they're going to look at outside candidates, hire from within. Is it just going to be for
temporary?
A year?
Who knows what's going to happen there?
I feel bad for Leslie Frazier, but at the same time, I don't.
It could be the best thing for the Bills because that defense has let them down when it matters most.
It's tricky with that Bills defense because you're right. They have choked at the worst possible times. But statistically, overall, under Leslie Frazier, one of the top defenses in the league.
It is. But when it counts, they do not step up.
And we've brought that up here a year or two back on Sports Frenzy. That cost him.
Yep.
Playoff performance 2 playoff seasons ago cost him a head coaching job because of how badly they performed.
Yep, and you had it again this year.
Our buddy, our best buddy, Matt Nagy.
God.
Falls bass backwards into good luck again since Eric Bieniemy decided to take a lateral move to try to prove himself as OC of the Washington Commanders. And I got to believe Bieniemy was thanking the Lord that they got rid of Carson Wentz.
Yeah, no kidding.
Matt Nagy will now once again be the offensive coordinator for the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs.
And you know, it really doesn't matter because like they said with Bieniemy, Andy Reid is the one who calls the plays.
There you go. There you go.
That's why Bieniemy wanted out so he could prove what he could do. Nagy already showed what a joke he is as a coach, that he has no clue how to call a game.
And finally, very interesting scenario here in Denver. We know that Sean Payton has taken over as the man.
Yep, he's brought all of his coaches back.
For the defensive coordinator, though, I give credit to Vance Joseph. This takes some balls. Vance Joseph, kids, was the head coach not too long ago for the Denver Broncos.
Yep.
Sean Payton is bringing him back as the defensive coordinator of the Denver Broncos. Good for him.
He knows who he wants. He trusts his people.
Yep. And I love the stuff I'm hearing in terms of how he's handling Russell Wilson. Another quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who is getting far too much praise for diva behavior.
Yeah. Nope. You do not do that shit.
I was hearing stories about him over the weekend where he had his own office on the second floor.
Yeah, it was rumored.
Above the locker room.
Yeah. Not cool.
Oh, Nathaniel Hackett just fucked that whole year up completely. Good Lord, you can't do that.
You do not.
I don't care if you're the quarterback. The quarterback has got to be down there with everybody else and be part of the team.
And that's why the locker room did not care for him.
What, did Aaron Rodgers ask for a cave to be built off a Lambo?
No, they just gave him a broom closet.
Oh, my God. All right, some bad news in college football. We talked a while back about tragic accident killing Georgia offensive lineman Devin Willock and staffer Chandler LaCroix. And at the time, it really looked like that. Nothing more really than a tragic accident.
Yeah.
We hadn't heard anything about alcohol or drugs. Now it turns out, oh boy, one of the top draft prospects, Georgia defensive tackle Jalen Carter, will be arrested. Warrant has been issued for reckless driving and racing. As it turns out, he was in fact racing the car that Willock and LaCroix were in.
Stupid decision.
And this is the kind of stuff, and we'll get to Alabama basketball later. But here with Georgia football, again, young people thinking they're invincible, especially touted, highly recruited athletes, thinking nothing can touch them. They can do whatever they want, whenever they want, and nothing bad will ever happen to them.
Yep. And the stupid thing is, he was racing a staff member, one of the somebody on the recruiting staff.
That was Chandler LaCroix. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, Chandler LaCroix. Yeah. The expedition was driven by LaCroix. Idiots ruining their lives.
And again, young people think they're invincible, think they can't be killed, think they're indestructible. But if you are a top-level athlete in college with a clear path to the pros, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, again, I've said this over and over and over again. And I say this about the pros. I say this about professional basketball players, professional football players. Insulate yourself. Lock yourself away for 10 years. Make all the money, and then turn into Michael Irvin once you're done.
Yeah.
But don't do it before you've earned your money.
Stay away from the idiots who are going to bring you down.
Yeah. And next week, we're going to have a story in the NBA about Ja Morant, which just broke today. I'm waiting for more details on this before we jump into it all the way. But I'm hearing bad things about one of the NBA's best players in Ja Morant that we're going to hear more about in the coming days.
Yeah.
But again, Jalen Carter, he was potentially a Bears pick. Yeah. If they were able to move back.
He was one of the top 2 players that the Bears were looking at.
Yep.
And he might not be available.
Terrible judgment.
Ruining his life.
All right, once again, the PGA.
And taking other lives. Just unacceptable.
The PGA has once again cracked under the pressure of Live Golf, despite the fact that, of course, Live Golf on the CW in their initial weekend didn't score great ratings. PGA's tournament, quintupled the ratings, even more so than that.
Yeah, but they're still on one of the major networks.
So here's what the PGA has done in their panic mode, again, to kiss Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods' asses. And this goes against everything you and I have talked about for years in terms of, we talked about how to make the PGA more viable even before Live Golf was an idea. We talked about what to do. Force Tiger Woods to play X number of events.
Yes.
Guess what the PGA, in their infinite insanity, has now decided to do? In 2024, there will be no quote-unquote participation requirements. It used to be that the top-level players had to play in the Players, in the 4 majors if eligible, in the 3 FedEx Cup, playoff tournaments if eligible, and 8 other events. Out the window. They can play whenever they want, if they want to. If they don't want to, that's fine.
They can play 2 or 3 tournaments in a season. That's fine.
Congratulations, Tiger.
You pansy-ass little bitch.
You've destroyed the PGA Tour with this. How does this make any sense?
No, but if nobody's going to play, why is anybody going to tune in?
That's my point exactly. This is counterintuitive. This is counterintuitive to making the PGA Tour more watchable, more competitive. That you're now taking away requirements to make the big stars
show up
a small, minuscule amount of tournaments.
It's ridiculous. You're driving people to watch the Live, where the main guys are going to play week in and week out.
With tons of guaranteed money. And then on top of that, the 8 events, no cuts, exclusive field of 70 to 80 players. So they're going to push out the younger players.
Yeah.
Limit the field in these 8 events starting in 2024.
So you're not going to have a chance to see one of the young up-and-coming golfers make a great first couple day run to make the cut with the potential to carry the momentum through the weekend and pull off an upset. You're going to lose that.
Unless, of course, the big names decide they don't want to play, opening up spots.
It's absolutely stupid.
So it's like,
so you're
a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing.
The whole thing with the PGA, we're going to provide more money for everybody. Everybody.
That's all they had to do. You never would have had this with Mickelson. You never would have had this with Live Golf if you'd initially just paid the players more.
Yeah, all the way down.
They created this whole problem.
And now the PGA is not letting the under guys even play. They're completely screwing them over on making a living playing golf.
It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I know there's people out there that will hate me for saying this because of where the money's coming from. But in terms of competition, I hope Live Golf kicks their ass. Now, in the end, I hope another entity arises. I hope get rid of the Saudis, get rid of the PGA, and let's start a whole new league where somebody actually with some brain power when it comes to golf put something together that we can all get behind. And these players do have to play X number of events and not be lazy assholes like Tiger Woods. And it's competitive and it means something.
Yeah, this whole FedEx Cup thing was a joke to begin with.
Yeah, that was their feeble attempt to throw money at the players to try to make it more interesting.
Yeah, and they limited it so damn much, it was pathetic.
Yeah.
So somebody who played in 4 events could win the cup. Absolutely stupid.
All right, and finally, wrapping up segment 2. Next segment will be baseball, NASCAR, and very quick Red Foreman Dumbass of the Week segment. But finally, just because I hate YouTubers. I hate social media influencers beyond all belief. Because, yes, I'm a bitter old, get off my lawn, man. I was happy to hear that arrogant piece of crap, Jake Paul, lost his first career fight to Tommy Fury. Believe the nephew, possibly, of Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
It was a split decision, but still. I have to watch Logan Paul and his arrogant, cocky ass on WWE. Jake Paul's even worse. Glad to hear he got his ass somewhat handed to him.
At least he lost.
It is still not the boxing that I grew up with, that Dave grew up with.
No, boxing sucks anymore.
All right, kids. One final segment left. We'll be right back.
This episode of Sports Frenzy 2.0 is brought to you by the Bills Mafia Marital Aid Company. Because when you are down and out, we'll bring you back up and in the game. Sports Frenzy 2.0 on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and Stitcher.
All right, kids, third and final segment here on March the 1st, 2023. He's a conquistador, Dave Height.
He's a maestro, Kevin Crane.
All right, starting off with NASCAR. The season is in full swing. We have got 2 races in the books. We just finished up the final race at Fontana Auto Club Speedway in the current configuration. Definitely no racing there in 2024. Probably not in 2025.
It's going to be the foreseeable future because right now they have no architectural plans for a new track.
Theoretically, they're going short track.
Theoretically,
they've sold
there's
tons of property.
Yeah, there's nothing on paper. There's nothing on the books in the planning stage at all.
Yeah, and they just sold, again, a bundle of property in and around the track.
Yeah, it's racing in Southern California.
Can do that until you figure out, like you said, what the track's going to look like, what parking's going to look like. How can you just start selling off parcels?
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense.
So again, we will see what race takes over this spot in the schedule in 2024. Now, you would assume, unless they bump things up, but even then, got to be a warm weather track. You would think. But we've also talked about the fact it's not feasible, as somebody speculated, to turn the Clash at the Coliseum into a points race.
Yeah, you can't do it.
You can't get all the cars on that track.
No.
You can't do it. So we will see what NASCAR does next year. Could we possibly hear an LA street race?
Oh, God help us.
That's me. That's my idea. I'm trademarking that. The Maestro Street Race in Los Angeles.
Throw it down to San Diego. Throw San Diego a bone since you poached an NFL team out of there.
There you go. But warm weather, God, don't put it in San Francisco.
Oh, hell no.
Do you want to? You get 5 points for hitting a homeless person? Joey Logano just got 5 points for going through a homeless encampment.
It's going to be NASCAR's version of the chase scene in Bullet over the hills.
Jesus. Or Death Race 2000. Oh, my God. All right, so Fontana. Christopher Bell got the pole because they had those weird rain and snowstorms tearing through Southern California. So Christopher Bell got it based on their new formula.
Yeah.
Didn't help him much. He had a bad race. And I'll tell you what scares me. Kyle Busch won and looked really good for the second straight week.
I know.
Running for Richard Childress.
Yep. That's... Oof.
So Kyle Busch and Ricky Stenhouse
re-energized.
Jr. Yep, they're both locked in now. Ross Chastain won both stages. He has won 3 of the first 4 stages so far this year for Trackhouse. We talked about TV ratings in the first segment for the NBA, the All-Star Game. Yes, it's Daytona. Yes, it's normally the highest rated race of the year for NASCAR, but still a little bit of bragging rights. Whereas the NBA All-Star Game, as we mentioned, 2.2 rating, 4.59 million viewers. Daytona pulls in a 4.4, 8.17 million viewers, yet that is still
not
the third smallest audience ever for a Daytona 500.
Yeah.
Now, Fontana, you want to look at that, maybe a better comparison. Not bad compared to the NBA All-Star Game. Again, down from last year, but 2.48, 4.315 million viewers. NASCAR, the reason why I like to talk about the ratings for NASCAR, we know the ratings for the NFL are always going to be awesome. NASCAR needs these ratings to stabilize or go up.
Yeah, they do.
I don't know.
Part of the problem is your fans are getting fed up with the broadcasts.
But I can't believe that's Fox. Fox, I mean,
not complete.
Stewart and Boyer have been fantastic.
No, in the booth there, but the coverage itself, you don't need the hours of pre-race crap that they do now.
And something you pointed out with
and
Daytona.
Then the commercials. 2 laps, commercials. 2 laps, commercial. Just stop already.
Commercials have been awful in the first 2 races. Awful. You pointed that out for Daytona.
It's been brutal.
Yeah, and I noticed it for both races, watching them on my DVR. Terrible, terrible breaks in the action, ending all momentum for anybody watching the race. I agree completely. Awful, awful. They have got to dial it down. In the side-by-side stuff, I don't count. I see side-by-side, I'm still going to the bathroom.
Right.
I'm still going to the kitchen. You've got to give everything your full attention so I can hear what Tony Stewart,
you need to know what's
Clint
going
Boyer's
on.
saying, what these guys, the experts, are saying in terms of pit strategy, how many laps to go before Larry McReynolds coming in with when the typical caution's going to hit. Yeah. That's the stuff I want to hear.
And I don't need to see the same damn Liberty Mutual commercial twice in the same damn commercial break.
Unfortunately, there's very few companies left that can afford commercials. So we get this. Doesn't matter if we're watching NASCAR, any other sporting show, same commercials. It's almost like propaganda.
Yeah. It's either the stupid car insurance commercials or it's the stupid drug companies.
I was just going to say pharmaceuticals. Yep.
And nobody gives a rat's ass about listening to all the damn side effects. Half the time, I think you're making some of these medical issues up to pimp your new damn drugs.
You might possibly grow a rhinoceros horn out of your forehead if you take this drug.
Your balls will shrivel up and fall off.
You might get a perpetual hard-on for 4,276 straight days.
My God. Oh, the best one. To rectify your irritable bowel syndrome, one of the side effects, this may cause irritable bowel syndrome. What?
Worst thing they ever allowed was, I remember when they said lawyers and drug companies could start advertising.
Boom. End of it all.
Yep. All right, Kyle Larson, good news for him. We've talked about the fact that he's going to run Indy. Got a 2-year deal. McLaren and Hendrick running through 2024 and 2025.
There you go. How about you actually finish the damn race?
Oh, bitter man, which I am too. Yeah, that's part of the reason why I didn't watch the race. Started to watch a TV show. Check out the weekend edition for my review of The Consultant. Because when he couldn't get through 15 laps before electrical issues, because they couldn't practice. Jesus Christ!
Crap!
Are you kidding me? Dave and I, of course, had Kyle Larson
And
as our picks.
I'm glad I had to go out of town and missed that, or I would have been pissed for the entire day.
Of course, I am always looking on the bright side of things. So thank God he got back out there and hung out there, because the attrition, we got 8 points instead of 1, is how I'm looking at it.
And at this
Could have
point
been
for
worse.
me, Lottie frickin' da.
Dave, the sun will come up tomorrow. And you know where that sun will come up? Over the debauchery on the strip in Las Vegas, Nevada, where race 3 will be held this coming Sunday, March the 5th, 2023, at the Pennzoil 400. So this is our chance.
An opportunity to potentially get some points back.
We've got 7 of our 8 panelists with their picks in for the Pennzoil 400 in Sin City. So let's get into it. First and foremost, congratulations to Aaron, our defending Frenzy Cup champion, for picking Kyle Busch last week. He is already off to a rousing start with a win in 2 races here in the 2023 Cup season. So I made the pick first. I have it time, date stamped. But he decided to copy me. So Aaron and I are both going with the Melon Farmer, Ross Chastain.
There you go. Good pick. I am going with the Governor, Doug, and taking defending Cup champion Joey Logano.
Very good pick. Bill and Nick are both going with Denny Hamlin. And Sam is going with Kyle Larson, expecting a bounce back. And Larson needs it.
He definitely does.
And with our luck, this would be the week that he ends up dominating and winning. That's how I feel too. If he wins this,
I'm going to be pissed.
I'm out, Jerry. I'm out of the contest. No, I'm not. I don't quit like Sam does. I will go through to the bitter end. All right, baseball. Spring training, of course, has begun. We do have that wonderful, awesome, can't wait for it, World Baseball Classic starting up here in a couple days.
Who cares? That's so stupid.
Of course, money-wise, Manny Machado told everybody, well, I'm going to opt out of my contract after this year. And again, these opt-out deals, I don't like them.
Nope.
It's the only way you can rope some of these guys in. I get it, but still, you can't depend on them. So San Diego, all of a sudden, deep, deep pockets say, okay, Manny, we get it. Even though you're 30 years old, we'll do the whole deal over again. So they give Manny Machado an 11-year, $350 million, which
absolutely
kids,
stupid.
Sports Frenzy math for the second time in this episode. 30 years old, 11-year deal. He will be 41 by the time this $350 million deal is over.
One of the last 40-year-old players to do any good was Julio Franco.
And still, all he did, he hit for average. It wasn't like he was jacking balls out of the park.
No, he hit the occasional home run, but he was still hitting for average and being semi-productive.
Right.
But he was just a straight DH.
Right. But again, we're not talking about, what?
The monster money.
$34 million a year.
No, this is absolutely stupid to have signed him that long. Dumb.
Speaking of dumb when it comes to baseball.
What did Rob Manfred do this time?
Well, Dave and I have talked in the past about the legendary, he loves this, Sports Vision.
Oh, God, Sports Vision. Oh.
And how baseball loves to cede control of franchises to these regional sports networks and these companies who are willing to throw money at them Rob Manfred sees a check in front of him. He starts drooling like Pavlov's dog. Well, Bally Sports took over control for 17 of the 30 teams in MLB. That is over half, kids. Again, third time. Sports Frenzy math. 17 divided by 30, that's over half. Bally Sports is on the verge of bankruptcy, and now baseball is saying MLB is already preparing to take over broadcasts for all 17 teams currently under the umbrella of Bally Sports. Of course, with my luck, fucking Marquee Network is directly owned by Sinclair, so that doesn't count.
That hoses you, so yeah, there you go.
17 of the 30 teams, regional sports networks,
were bye-bye.
Going under. Baseball is going to have to take over all of it in terms of broadcasting those games out to those fans. Once again, Rob Manfred, an idiot beyond all belief.
Really, you got to stop banking on anything long-term from gambling companies, Bitcoin crap, any of that cryptocurrency bullshit. It's all a house of cards. It's legalized Ponzi.
The more I think about it, Jesus God. I mean, again, I know we rip on Roger Goodell for a lot of dumb stuff he does, but considering the other 3 commissioners he's up against, he could literally screw a donkey on national TV and still be considered far and away the best commissioner of the major American sports leagues. Am I wrong?
No.
The alien, Adam Silver, like you say, lets the inmates run the asylum. Bettman, we can't figure out what's a good trade, what salary cap numbers are what.
Yeah. There's no rhyme or reason. And
here's the best thing. Baseball, we've got the rule things going on. Dave and I were joking in prep before the show about we've had a game where it ended because a guy got called out on strikes because he took too long getting into the box. And, of course, spring training, you can end a game in a tie because, God forbid, we play extra innings.
Right.
We've had a game where the umpires walked off. The managers wanted to play an extra half inning.
They wanted to finish the half inning, even though the game was over, because they wanted to get the pitcher some work. And by rights, the managers can agree to shorten a game or lengthen a game. The ump said, nope, we're not going to do it. They don't have that right.
So they went ahead and played the bottom of the ninth.
Anyway.
The bottom of the ninth with
Sandlot rules.
The catcher calling balls and strikes. Good for them.
Good for them. I'm glad they said, let's do it. That was the Pirates and the Orioles.
Yep. And then, of course, here's the worst part of the whole thing. We're not even a full week in to spring training, and we've already got big injuries. Dodgers have lost their starting shortstop, Gavin Lux, out for the season with a torn ACL. Padres pitcher Joe Musgrave, borderline dumbass of the week, by the way, just got a 5-year, $100 million extension in 2022. Drops a kettlebell on his toe in the weight room. Out weeks, indeterminate amount of time. Rays pitcher Tyler Glasnow, who just came back from Tommy John surgery, I believe made 2 appearances last year, already has strained his oblique. He is out 6 to 8 weeks. And I just thought that was it.
But
we're done.
There's more.
Oh, but the Cubs! We have to get the Cubs involved in this. Because my pathetic mind, after hearing about the Bally Sports thing, had to go look at the Marquee Network.
Oh, please, please, please.
Yes. Please tell me they're going to shift it all to CSN Sports Chicago and, until this is all resolved and I get to watch the Cubs this year. No. But what do I see? Seiya Suzuki, our great and glorious acquisition from overseas last year, has got an oblique issue. He is out multiple weeks already.
Wasn't he injured a lot last season?
Yeah, he missed about half the season last year. Thanks, Dave. Thanks for reminding me of that. And I'm not saying this to be racist, you snowflakes out there. Don't take it that way. But outside of Shohei Ohtani, you tell me what pitcher from overseas has come over here, what batter has come over here.
Ichiro.
Thanks, Dave. How long ago was Ichiro a factor?
It's
decade?
Been a while.
10, 15 years? I'm saying 1 out of every 10 makes an impact. 1 out of every 10 makes an impact.
For a long term, yeah.
And I guarantee there's no way I would give Shohei Ohtani $500 million or whatever crazy-ass numbers they're throwing around for him.
No way.
Because he's never going to be able to do both hitting and pitching.
For long term.
No way. Let the Mets have him. Let the Yankees have him. Let the Dodgers have him. Wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. I'm not saying he's not
what are you going to do?
Phenomenal.
Are you going to pitch or are you going to hit?
Or are you going to burn him out until his arm falls off? And then he's done completely.
Yeah.
But to give him a long-term deal, no way. Not going to happen.
Nope.
All right, moments of silence. I do not have a Clint Eastwood badass of the week for sports. I do have one for the weekend edition. Moments of silence. I have one. Terry Holland, former head coach for the University of Virginia basketball program. Head coach for 16 years. And I agree with a lot of what people have been writing about him. He put that program on the map. Yeah. He was one of those coaches who would actually challenge Krzyzewski, challenge Dean Smith. Virginia would play up to that level in the ACC when the two big boys, were there.
Yeah, the perennial
always establishing
themselves.
It's Duke and North Carolina and Duke. Terry Holland's Virginia team always played tough, always played well, setting the standard for where they are now.
Yes.
Which honestly, I'm giving you a little hint as to where I'm going with my bracket. I'm not putting Virginia very far.
No.
I don't care how highly they're ranked. I don't like the way they play basketball. They play basketball like it's 1982.
They haven't evolved.
Yeah. All right, now, only a couple dumbasses this week to wrap things up here before we call it for this week on Sports Frenzy. But, of course, one of these we have been alluding to, one we've been talking about for a while. But, again, we've got to bring it up. And in this case, I believe this has got to go beyond the news story into the dumbasses of the week. And that is the whole situation with Alabama and Brandon Miller. Of course, everybody knows the story behind Brandon Miller by now. Bringing a gun to a dispute.
Yep, called by his roommate, teammate, bring my gun, pick me up. Gets there, brings the gun to him. That gun is used to kill somebody. I'm sorry, that's being an accessory.
But unfortunately not in the state of Alabama.
That boggles the mind.
Yeah.
Completely boggles the mind.
And that's one of the few times where I will side with the nut job liberal gun control advocates and say that situation should have been penalized, should involve the courts. There should be a law where he should have been charged with something. And they make the Southern people again. This is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, the West Coast, the Northeast, the bumpkins down there in the South don't know what they're doing. They sit around, they cook possums and shoot their shotguns and make moonshine. This is the kind of law that denigrates the good people of a state like Alabama. There should be a law in place for something so obvious as
Common
this.
sense. The kid was stupid. He made the conscious decision to bring that weapon on site. All he had to say is, no, I'm not coming out. That's it. Nothing else would have progressed.
Yeah, and we talked about that. That should have been the easy, simple decision for him. So he is not showing good judgment.
No.
And now we go further down this road because we've talked about the head coach for Alabama, Nate Oates.
If he had any moral integrity, he would have sat him for a couple of games just for making stupid decisions and being an idiot.
But they're looking at it as a once-in-a-lifetime chance for the Alabama basketball program.
Yeah.
Unlike the football program, Alabama's basketball team does not get to this position very often. We're in the top 3 of the polls, looking at a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Nate Oates, last week when we talked about him, was tone deaf when he was initially...
Oh, there's nothing illegal that he did.
Wrong place, wrong time.
No, not wrong place, wrong time. He put himself in that position. He wasn't in the wrong place. He put himself there.
So you would think that a week has passed. All parties have maybe learned to zip it, move on, keep it undercover, keep it low down.
Don't bring attention to yourself.
Because you've already made one major misstep by letting this kid keep playing, showing that you don't care about anything right now other than
winning basketball.
Alabama getting a national championship in basketball. You allow, here's your dumbass of the week moment for this situation. You continue to allow, you don't stop this, given what's happened. Brandon Miller's pregame
ritual in introductions.
A walk-on pats him down as he is introduced coming onto the court to play for Alabama. Yes, pats him, and this is after all this has transpired. All of this has come out. His involvement, let alone the death of this young woman.
He doesn't get it.
So they do the pat down ritual after all of this. And then again, the head coach, Nate Oates, completely fucking clueless. The guy that said last week about the overall incident, wrong place, wrong time. I can't keep track of everybody, what they do outside of the program. You would think he would be a little bit smarter and maybe have learned from his stupid responses last week.
Maybe paid a little more attention to what's going on with his players.
So they allow, number one, they allow Brandon Miller to do this introduction yet again. Yes, I get it. He's been doing it all season. You still need to be smart and stop it. The minute things come to light about his involvement, stop it. So, Nate Oates comes out and says, well, they told me it was making fun of a TSA pat down.
I don't watch the introductions. They just said it was making fun of the TSA. You are a fucking moron. You have no business being around young men that you're supposed to be molding. Absolutely stupid and incompetent.
Yeah, that's like 2 weeks in a row now, kids. Not 1, 2 weeks in a row where Nate Oates has failed miserably in his responses to this entire incident where a young woman lost her life and his star player, not to mention the other player involved, but his star player is tone deaf to what is going on around him. And this is the ultimate sign of the pampered collegiate athlete.
This is a narrow-minded, I want to win at any cost coach who doesn't care about his players and their future and society in general. It's win at all cost.
Yeah.
This is the epitome of that, and it's disgusting.
Can't wait for him to be caught banging a young waitress over a table a la Rick Pitino at a Waffle House at some point in time, because that's probably what's coming next for Nate Oates. Finally, wrapping up Sports Frenzy for this week. This one's easy. Queens, New York. How embarrassing is this? Put up a sign. Jackie Robinson Parkway, no C in Jackie.
Absolutely dumb.
Jakie. And it made it all the way through, and they put it up.
The idiocy in publishing, printing, sign making is ridiculous.
Check out the weekend edition for more stupidity. He's Dave. I'm Kev. See you, kids.